matter. So first of all, if we think about what is the definition of a belief, it is the acceptance that something is true or something exists. Now, if we are entering into a point of we do not know exactly what is true or what actually exists, how come is it that people are suddenly having these beliefs on what is going on? So this is exactly what Dave and I are going to be covering today. So let me just move quickly into the news in hopes that Dave will be able to come in as quickly as possible. And let me share with you, yesterday we were talking about what's going on in the airline industry. And right now, if we start looking around and I start looking at all the different things that people are doing that are not talking in the media, one of the things that really catches my attention is that many airlines, even though they are traveling without any passengers here in the United States, they have still to do this. Just have a look.
Good afternoon, my name is Candy. I'd like to welcome you to the boarding area for Flight 4363 with service to LaGuardia. Your carry-on allowance is 1 carry-on bag and 1 personal item. Please store your carry-on bag in the overhead bin.
Isn't it absolutely crazy that even though there's no passengers, they still have to do those announcements and everything? Let me just see again here, because I think that Dave now it's back. Dave.
Am I here?
Oh my goodness. I thought that I was going to be doing the show on my own.
I was enjoying it. You're very good, you know. You should do this more often.
Oh my God. It was.
How are you?
I'm doing great. So happy to see you.
I've been here all the way through. I think it's an internet issue. It may happen, but I'm here for now anyway. We're talking about the scary elements that are going on in the airline industry. And watching that was... I mean, you said yesterday, explained the fact that the airlines still have to fly the planes because they're not made to not fly, and it costs a fortune to park them. But it just seems really bizarre to go through the motions in an empty airport where nobody can walk.
Well, that is exactly why I think it's very important that we talk about beliefs and about the rules that everybody's actually following, because nobody has a clue what's going on. And still things need to be done in a certain way because that's the protocol. We never took into consideration a pandemic. And this is the reason why this is just so absolutely bizarre and insane. I mean, it's just really very weird. I mean, yesterday I had to go pick up a couple of things for the kids for Easter. And I got into the shop and they had just curb delivery. And they don't let you get out of the car, but still, I mean, it's just right now absolutely bizarre. And whatever we believed as it was normal is not normal anymore. And this is exactly where I believe that what we're going to be providing today is going to be incredibly powerful. Definitely. Because we have to completely scratch many of our beliefs, and that is just incredibly powerful.
Well, with a system like that with the airlines, it makes you think that, first of all, the challenge would be about social distancing. I don't know whether you can social distance on a plane where all the air gets recycled anyway. But certainly if those planes are flying, there must be logistical operations that you can use to transport things from one place to the other. So if you're not using the seats for putting people on, surely the seats can be used for, at the very least, medical supplies or something else. So it really seems so bizarre that they've got this business model, they're sticking to it, but they haven't evolved it to at least make the flights worth something.
Correct. Well, I think the word that you just mentioned is incredibly critical. Evolving. We need to evolve. We are not anymore in the world that we left a month ago. Let me just show you an example of something which I think it's newsworthy, and I think it's also incredibly powerful. Right now, you were mentioning how everything was going to be evolving with the drones and how everything was going to be evolving in the pilots were going to be drone pilots, et cetera, et cetera. And then suddenly I get an advertising from Airbnb just showing this, which I thought it was just insane. Right now, they have completely changed their entire website. I mean, we're talking just about a matter of 2 weeks. And they are now offering 3 different business opportunities for them. First of all, they have they have rooms or hotels for people to stay, which are in the front line, which is great. Of course, I mean, they also need to be hosted because there's people that have been traveling from one place to the other of the country or from one place to the other of the world to actually be assisting, and that is just great. And they're possibly providing it at a cheaper price. Then they are getting you the opportunity to do the quarantine in some of their places. So you can actually quarantine for a month. You can get the place for a month. But the one that really catches my attention is the third one, which they are providing virtual reality. So let me just share what's the exactly what they are talking about, the virtual realities, because it's just absolutely insane. You can go to Chernobyl in the Ukraine to find out about the dogs. You can have wine experiences. You can spend the day with Olympic star. You can go and learn cooking in the United States. You can learn magic in the United Kingdom. And they are now selling those experiences anywhere from $14 to $35 because this is the nature of where we're in. So they completely reinvented their business model while we speak. And that is one of the things that is very important. And they did that because they changed their belief system. And this is what is going on. I mean, if people keep on believing, oh my goodness, I hope that everything will be finished because we're going to go back to normal, I'm afraid to tell you that normal is not normal anymore.
And that's absolute genius because it means that they'll end up, as long as their software can handle it, they can get, say there's 2,000 possible experiences you can get, from learning to cook, to becoming an athlete, to swimming lessons, to everything. They can recreate that in every country, in every language. And then they become a completely different creature. And that's taking on the likes of Fiverr.com, where you get somebody to do some stuff for your business, for your website, and so on. This is a really interesting spin on it. And I don't think we'll ever run out of people who want to connect to people, especially at those kind of prices.
Now, what I think it's really interesting is that this is just something that is just starting. This is something that is starting. And I believe, and this is something that we have spoken several times, most of the people are thinking that we're getting into a recession, while we have been saying already for weeks that this is also going to be a reinvention, a time for you to reinvent yourself. But now, if we see what the definition of a recession is simply, it's a transfer of wealth from the meek to the bold. And this is a time to be bold. But the question is, how could you be bold if you do not know where you're going? I mean, it's a weird question.
And how do you do it if everybody you know around you is complaining and frozen in time, saying this is the worst experience they've ever had in their lives? I mean, I think that when we go into this whole section, and people love this as much as we've been enjoying researching it, it comes down to that very basic question. What percentage of people are into personal development and can actually say that they control every aspect of what goes on in their lives? I mean, you'll know what the percentage of that is. It's like 3% of people, rather than go shopping or go to the bar or watch Netflix, will read a book all about personal development, take charge of all the different tricks and NLP and coaching elements to be able to drive what happens in their lives. So it doesn't surprise me in times of recession, most people lick their wounds and cover their heads, and a handful of people run forward and do something with it.
Well, I think that what is happening right now, and this is a way to see it. I mean, right now we need a little bit of perspective. I think that's just very important to see it that way. And as we were mentioning earlier, I think this is a little bit like the Mexican wave. I mean, if you are on a stadium and you see the Mexican wave as we are seeing it there. Let me see if I can get it correct. Yeah, we can see the Mexican wave just going from one side to the other.
Is that one of my gigs?
The other side of the stadium. But if you see that everybody's actually just going up with their hands up, you can see that before you know it, it's actually going to get to you. So right now we are in two complete different sides of the world. You are in Dubai, you are in lockdown. I am not in lockdown right now. Yesterday, for the first time in a while, I mean, I actually went to I had to run a couple of errands. Yes, I noticed that everybody was wearing a mask. Yes, I noticed that there were some things that were different. Yes, I noticed that the gas in the gas stations was really cheap. I mean, I think I paid something like $1.30 for $1.30 for a gallon, which is just insanely cheap. So I've noticed that all of these things are changing. But I knew about it because in other places it was already happening. So one of the things that the coronavirus is providing us is that we can see in a short term where we're going. So we saw this coming all the way from China. It went afterwards to Korea. It went afterwards to Japan. And we completely ignored it. It suddenly hit us when it arrived into Italy, and that's when we said, oh my goodness, this is too close for home. And we started really reacting. And right now, what is happening in one place is happening in the other. And I think this is very interesting for us to see, because we can predict short term where things are going to go. And this is just a very interesting take on what is happening right now in the world again. So let me just show you on that respect what is happening right now in China, because if you actually see what's going on right now in China, you will see what might be also happening here right now. Have a look. It's just absolutely crazy how it is going on there. Well, I have here another video of also what is going on in China. This is, I think this is something that we will also be seeing in this part of the world very soon. Really, absolutely crazy. So we can see already that is happening there in China. I am sure that it's going to start moving into Japan. It's going to start moving into Korea. It's going to start moving into different places. And very soon, before we know it, that is going to also show where we are.
So what I was going to say was the biggest challenge about the Mexican wave that we talked about, and also with the heat seekers that the police had, is you're so reliant on the information that you get from the people who are telling you this is the way that we're going to play it. So with the coronavirus, people were aware of it long before the decision makers decided to do anything about it, and that made a big difference as to whether people caught it or not. People like, for instance, North Korea, made the decision that we're going to test. We're going to have live testing in car parks, and we're going to shut everybody down really quickly. And so they managed to get rid of it very quickly as well. And so I think the key to it, and this is what the mindset challenge is all about, what we're going to be talking about today, is do you go with the herd and do what everyone else decides that we're being told to do, or do you go with what you believe is the right way to move forward, irrespective? And if that's the case, you've got to create your own world that has nothing to do with what everybody else is saying around you. It just happens to occupy the same space. You and I talk about things, and we've done this for many years, and we'll see things that everybody else sees, but we'll see it with a completely different spin. And that's why we've been successful in what we do. I think that the coronavirus has really pointed out that belief systems that we're taught from school, and we're taught by our friends, and we're taught by our politics and our spiritual beliefs might not be the key to where you need to be in the future if you want to reinvent yourself and be successful.
100%. I love this chart because it explains specifically where our beliefs come from. They come from knowledge. They come from the environment where we're living. They come from the future vision about the past results that we have had and our previous events. And in reality, right now, most of these beliefs that we have right now, they are completely obsolete. They're not working. But the problem is, a belief is something that actually sinks really to the ground in different stages or in different levels. So, for example, we have first an opinion. We went already through the process of having only an opinion. We just had an opinion about whatever was happening on the coronavirus. But then suddenly we started creating these beliefs, which is the second level. And then we went into, oh my goodness, I have a conviction that this is going to happen. And then it's going to sink even deeper, and people are going to take it like if it is a dogma. And this is where I have a big issue, because if people don't understand that right now they have to really rethink their beliefs, there's going to be consequences for all of us, because there's some people that still want to stick so strongly into their beliefs. So there's basically two angles to it. There's the people that they're saying, well, I was trained to this, and this is what I'm going to be doing for, it doesn't matter what is happening. And there's some other people which are just questioning things, and they have no clue exactly where they are going.
I agree with you completely. And the biggest challenge for everybody is to look at where they are right now and say, if you do exactly what you're doing right now, will you come out of it at the other side with exactly what you have right now, or what you had before you went into the virus situation? If you don't believe that what you have right now is enough to survive, then you should be having a good think about where you are and what you need to do to position yourself. And with that question, you've got to say, well, what am I willing to do to reposition myself to make it happen? Because right now, we talked about this. This is one of the reasons we created this show in the first place. We realized that everything that we believed was good and normal is in pause button. Everything around the world is in pause. People in lockdown, in business, in mindset, in programming, in creating movies, everything's on pause. It will start up again, but what world is going to start up? With that example you gave of Airbnb, which is fantastic, they've gone, ooh, hello, nobody's grabbed this. We've got a system that works like a switchboard model for people's properties. What if we used it for people? And we've connected people with others, and we just charge for that instead. And it's genius. So every single person who's watching this has the ability to reinvent. As to what they reinvent themselves into, that's what we're going to have to be talking about next.
Correct. And let me just give you the two examples. For example, right now, yesterday was Good Friday. Today is the day in between, or Easter Saturday, if you want to call it that way. And tomorrow is going to be Easter. So right now, one of the fears that several people have in the communities here in the United States is if there's going to be services for the churches around. And then very recently, this lady that calls herself, it's of course a parody, but it's just very powerful because she really hits on the exact pain of this belief system. And this is one of the extreme people that say, well, I've been trained that for my entire life I need to do this, and it doesn't matter what the consequences are, I'm going to continue going to church. Let me just show you this.
Can I just say something just before you send the video, before you start it? I mean, Mrs. Betty Bowers isn't her real name, but also this is not a criticism of people's spiritual beliefs. It's only when you don't pay attention to the outside environment as well as the rules that you've been given to play with.
So let's just have a look. All I want to do is I want to show you the spectrum. So I'm going to show you the spectrum of people that are saying, well, right now with how things are going, we have to behave in this way. And then we will go all the way to the other side of the spectrum. Have a look.
Hark! I'm Mrs. Betty Bowers, America's best Christian. Trademark. As such, I get to tell lesser Christians, that would be you, what you're doing to annoy Jesus. Oh goodness, where to start? Oh, I know. How about Christians who continue to crowd into churches during a global pandemic? No, don't smite them just yet, Jesus. Yeah, me too, but at least allow the mercy of me warning them first. Oh, stop. Maybe you've seen the video of the woman driving to church saying she isn't worried about getting sick because
I'm covered in Jesus' blood.
Just think of her dry cleaning bills. Okay, but first of all, if you want to reassure people you're healthy, particularly mentally, the technique of telling them you're covered in blood needs a little work. But that same woman said she goes to the grocery store every day. So maybe this is not about being so devout you have to go to church, but being so selfish you have to do whatever the hell you want, no matter whom you kill. Because I wanted to ask her, even if you think Jesus cast a sticky magical spell to make you asymptomatic, what about all the other people you come in contact with at that store? People who aren't covered in blood. What are they? Just collateral damage to your need to show your neighbors how pious you are by still going to church? What? You think God is too lazy to make a house call? Well, then maybe you need to find a God who, when he says he's everywhere, actually is everywhere, not just in one building with loud wall-to-wall carpeting, a bad soft rock band, and 24 collection plates. People are ordering in food to save lives, and if your God doesn't deliver, you need to find one with better Yelp reviews. Or, here's an idea. Why don't you look for a God you can actually follow, if only for the novelty? Remember, before you climb into that sedan the Lord blessed you with, the God you pretend to follow, Jesus told you to pray in private, not public. Matthew 6:5-6. Yes, I get it. Making a big spectacle of praying in public is one of America's top 10 favorite ways to ignore Jesus. We even have whole days set aside for it.
Wow. Doesn't pull many punches there, but there you go. Again, taking away the actual spiritual belief thing, where we don't want to go near that. What we're talking about is the most important thing, which is being sensible and understanding that just because everyone else is doing it doesn't mean that it is the right thing to do. And so there you got a comedian who's quite funny. I mean, it's very amusing. But the bottom line is, tomorrow there'll be a lot of people who'll be walking into church, and then whether they catch it or not, they'll just be spreading it amongst other people, which is not what this whole thing is meant to be about. And it's amazing. I mean, I was chatting yesterday to a very good friend of ours who was saying that in his country, we're very lucky that in Dubai, we're in complete lockdown. And he really wishes that the government was going to do the same to his country, because right now, we don't know when it's going to end, because so many people are just out flaunting it and not sticking to the rules. So we don't know if it's going to get safe again.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy because, for example, one of the things that it really makes me feel really amazed is the fact that Hajj was postponed for all the Muslims. I mean, the millions of Muslims that have to go there every time for that religious holiday and whatever, everybody's getting into the observance. So once again, we were trying to put everything into perspective. So we have the people which, because of beliefs that they have had from the past, they still want to get things applied into right now. But now let's go into the other side of the spectrum so that you can see, that there's a line in between both, and those are the conspiracy theory people. I mean, if you go into Facebook right now, you will see a lot of posts that have to do with this, and possibly you have seen these posts already. So they are thinking that this story of the virus has been a conspiracy, that they are locking us down because Big Brother is planning something else. Their ideas that we're going to go cashless, that the whole thing was planned by Bill Gates so that they will be able to win the 5G together with Apple, and they're already starting to create the radio ID that they're going to be installing on us, that chip that we're going to be chipped. And then, of course, to top it all, Bill Gates was going to be giving us the vaccination. So now you have seen the two scopes. I mean, we have those people, and then we have the other people which are saying these kind of things. And the problem is because, of course, people cannot make up their mind. They are like going crazy. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? What is it going to happen? What shall I believe? Who should I believe? And that's the whole point. We really have to understand that we have to think that those beliefs are not right. And we have to change that.
The only thing you can do is you can accept the fact that we now have a crisis. We have a coronavirus that anybody can catch, and it may be fatal for some, and businesses locked down around the world at the same time. So that's a fact. What are you going to do next? That's it. Doesn't even matter what the conspiracy theory is, what's right, what's wrong. And let's face it, you and I are small guys. Most people watching this are not decision makers or politicians. So what they should be doing is just wondering in their world, for their family, with their income and their life, what do they do next with the hands that they're dealt? Conspiracy theories are always there to scare you, and sometimes there's a ring of truth in it, and sometimes it's just a really good idea that goes crazy, like the flat earth, and let's not even go near that. And so you have to just work out what works well for me, and how can I make the world work if it's changed its shape. I think that's the key to it. I mean, I deliberately haven't gone near the 5G or the rest of it. Who started it? And it came from that country. And did you know? And blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. It's here now. So what are you going to do next? That's all that matters.
Absolutely. This reminds me, a few months ago, there was this story about the Yanni and Laurel. Possibly you remember it. I mean, let me just show you the video just to refresh your memory.
People all over the world are listening to this and arguing about it. Do you hear Yanni or Laurel?
Laurel. Laurel. Laurel.
How does anybody hear Laurel out of that? We're going to discuss ahead why the answer is so important to so many of us. You are watching CBS.
Sounds like Laurel.
You hear Laurel?
Yes.
No. Welcome back to CBS This Morning, where the Yanni-Laurel debate continues. That we're going to take it into the green room. Mark Benioff, top CEO, Dr. Samson Davis, and Charlie Jeter are coming to the table next. But guys, do you hear Yanni or do you hear Laurel? Mark Benioff, you go first.
I hear Yanni. What does it mean?
Okay. Charlie, what do you hear? Charlie Jeter?
Laurel.
Laurel.
Dr. Samson Davis, what do you hear?
Obviously, is Yanni.
Okay, they say people 25 tend to hear Yanni. If you're younger, you hear Yanni. If you're older, you tend to hear Laurel. It all has to do with your higher
Well,
frequency.
there goes that.
So there you go, Mark Benioff.
Proof you guys are so young.
We have young ears. I like it. I like it.
All of that.
Very interesting.
Don't you think it's exactly like that, Dave? I mean, right now, some people hear Yanni, some people hear Laurel. I've listened to the recording 3 or 4 times, and now I can actually hear Yanni, and I can also hear Laurel. I can hear them both. Previously, I was only listening to Laurel. Right now, I can hear to both. So what's the point that I'm trying to make here is, you know what? It's exactly the same thing, but we are hearing different stories. I mean, this is insane.
I did the opposite. I could hear Yanni, and then just at the end there, I could hear Laurel. And as I'm doing it, I'm thinking, I don't care. Why are you shaking this in front of me? Why am I watching the shiny stick? instead of paying attention to the stuff that's really important. And I think that's the thing. Here's what it comes down to. Our systems are built to be aware of danger, to keep us safe. So therefore, when something comes up on your radar that might be dangerous and you might not be safe, you pay attention with more focus to that than anything else. So for instance, if somebody goes to a party in the days when you're allowed to, and you meet 100 people, of which 99 say, I really like the way you're dressed, and one says, I hate the way you're dressed, you look like a clown, you're going to remember that for the rest of the evening. Why? Because that's got danger attached to it, and our systems are built to protect us. So when you've got this kind of thing going on, if it's out of your control, you'll still worry about it, and your mind is a supercomputer, so it only pays attention to things that you're interested in. So if you say, I'm interested in finding out where this coronavirus has come from and what's at the heart of it, it'll go, okay, the boss has said we're interested in that, we're going to find more examples, and that's what you'll be thinking about all day. If you say to it, I don't care, how are we going to make sure that we've got money coming in? It'll go, right, the boss says, I don't care, let's find out how money comes in, and it will focus on finding more examples of that. So it's very important what you feed your mind. If you don't feed it the right way, it will go on holiday all the time, and other people will feed it.
Exactly. So once again, I mean, we have this whole thing where we shouldn't say is, well, we don't care what other people are saying. We could have one side of the spectrum, the other side of the spectrum. We have to start thinking as ourselves. I mean, I think for the first time, it's so incredibly critical that we think for ourselves, that we can actually start already thinking and decide instead of trying to follow and be completely paranoid about the news. This video. First of all, I have to warn you, it's a bit gross, but I believe that it just shows the exact same behavior. We are exhibiting the exact same behavior as these kids are actually having right now. And this is exactly what's going on. I mean, there is television, there is whatever it is, they're doing this to us. And this is very similar to the way that we are responding. Have a look.
¿Me puedes pasar el rollo de papel que está en la cama? Pues, gracias.
What is it? 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 What is it?
I can't breathe it, Mason. It's chocolate, baby. It's chocolate. It's chocolate. It's okay.
This is the last one.
Really?
Yeah.
See? Toilet paper. Can you give me that toilet paper over there? That one? Can you go give it to me? Ah, oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
The horror on the faces of young children scarred for life by Nutella. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen. But it just goes to show how easily, I mean, here's the thing. That video is what we call clickbait. It's something that when you put it onto social media, it goes bonkers, it goes viral, and everybody loves it. And I love it. I think it's hilarious. But there's so much stuff that's sent out to distract people that people think is what the world's truly all about, deliberately. And you see it happening all the time. And sometimes you've got to take a step back from it. And I think that one of the things we'll be showing of people who are running their businesses, especially the fast forward part of this show, is that don't produce clickbait, produce content that lets people know who you are, what you do, and what you can do for them. And that's so key to it, because you now have to set up your own little bubble and your own communication channel with the people who want to do business with you. Otherwise, they won't find you, and they won't know who you are, what you do.
Yeah, that is correct. I mean, right now, it just makes me laugh. Once again, we went from one side to the spectrum to the other side of the spectrum. So now let's see some of the people which are in the center of the spectrum, which they are certainly experts. I mean, they know everything about the coronavirus. They know everything about what's going on. They know everything. And right now they are saying, well, I'm going to show you the way. I'm going to tell you right now. We have seen it with several people which are into the speaking industry. Well, I'm going to show you how these things are going to be done. Or with somebody which is into business, I'm going to tell you how things are going to be done. Like if they will actually have the experience. While in reality, what we need to do is we have to show who we really are, because it is about being. It is not about doing. It is first about being, which of course is going to make a big, big difference into what we are believing. I mean, right now, this is an experience that Dave and I decided to live together with you. We are not saying in any way, shape, or form that we know where we want to go, that we know in which direction. And every single day, we're trying to figure out what's going to be the navigation plan. And every single day, we want to go into try to, first of all, make it more bearable, because right now we have seen that many people, especially the millennials, which are getting into depression, which are getting very sad. We try to bring you some good humor. We try to get you some good information, but we're not saying, well, this is the way, because who are we to actually know where the way is? But what we are doing is we are trying to recreate and reform and put together a new set of beliefs, because the beliefs that we have in the past, 90% of them are not applicable anymore.
Absolutely. And the thing is, most of the people who claim to know what they're talking about don't really know what they're talking about either. So this is a massive opportunity for anybody who's ever felt slightly on the outside of life, or slightly on the outside of being victimized at work, and you wished it was going to go easier. This is your opportunity. And one of the things that's really key to everybody, if you only take one thing from this whole experience of watching myself and Ernesto, is this: create a side hustle. Create a second business that you love, that you have fun with, that could earn money if you wanted to push it, and start doing that alongside whatever you're doing in the lockdown or wherever you are in quarantine. Because once you start looking at that, you ask yourself better questions. You look at the landscape in a way that you've probably never looked at it before, and that could be your lifeline to where you need to be in the future.
Yeah, thinking about that it is right now, if we would be to throw away every single thing that we know about how things were working. And right now, bear in mind, I mean, for example, we have our core beliefs. The core beliefs are the beliefs that were instated by our parents, by our well-intended people around us. Those beliefs are there. And yes, there's some which are great. I mean, they're very good to have. Then we might have some genetic beliefs, which is basically the beliefs which are instead inside of us by our culture or by the surroundings that we are having. Then we have some historical beliefs, because this is what has happened in the past. Right now, those historical beliefs are almost thrown to the out of the window, because we cannot really believe in those anymore. So, and then afterwards we will have the soul beliefs, which those might be the spiritual ones. So if we take, right now it's time to keep the beliefs that are helping us, and some of the ones which are questionable, it's the time to change them. When I was a little bit as a startup speaker, my first training as a speaker was with Jack Canfield. Jack Canfield, I spent about 15 days with him in Santa Barbara, California, learning every single thing that I needed to learn to become a trainer. And one of the things that I remember that he told me was E plus R equals O. Event, the E starts for event, plus R, which stands for response, and that equals outcome. So you cannot change the events. That's something that we cannot change. But most of the people which fail in a situation like this, they fail because they are focusing on the event. All of these people which we're telling you from either one side of the spectrum, they are focusing on the event. The event we will not be able to change. What is the only factor that we will be able to change to alter the outcome? It's going to be the response. If we change the response, we will be able to change the outcome. And this is why absolutely getting rid of those beliefs which are not applicable right now anymore are absolutely critical.
And here's one of the things that scares me so much about that is it's clear that when something like this happens, and it will happen again because it happens every couple of years, when you have a potential pandemic, at the end of this, there will be a real push for people to stop communicating with other countries because quite clearly, if you set the borders up, you don't need to catch anything from anybody else. But here's where the real challenge is. If you don't communicate with other people and have some kind of network, you won't know what's coming because you're not really working it out together. And so when you did a couple of episodes ago, you showed the difference between the three brains. You've got the brain that's in your head, you've got the brain that's in your heart, and you've got the brain that's in your gut. And sometimes your gut is counterintuitive to what you really need to do. Your gut tells you to separate from other countries, but your brain and your heart says, no, get closer to them, because that way we'll know. If this happens anywhere in the world again, we'll know by the warnings how we can stop it.
Yeah, that is correct. Well, we're almost running out of time. I mean, this episode, I knew that it was going to go very, very fast. And I would like to remind everybody that every single thing that we're doing right now, it's on a podcast format also. You can listen to it in the toilet paper podcasts. And I think it's worth. I mean, we don't have all the answers, but we are navigating with you to make things a lot more bearable. And we want to support ourselves, but we also want to support you on this journey.
Absolutely. The key to everything we're doing is throwing questions up so you can also get to the same mindset. But with lots of people who watch what we're talking about and don't agree with us, that's fantastic. Let us know what you think, because we can't guarantee we're going to be right, but we'd love to know different points of view on it as well. And hopefully together, by the time that we actually have to stop doing this show, because we'll be out of the other side of the virus and people going back to work, we'll all be in a much stronger and better position because of being through this experience together. It is unique. We're never going to have a chance to go through this again in our lifetimes, hopefully. So making the most of it is key to everything. And to be honest with you, Ernesto, we went through so much stuff about belief systems today and so much content we haven't finished yet. We're going to have to make it part 2 tomorrow.
It's very likely we're going to go for part 2 because indeed we went too fast and I still have a ton of content. But you know what? In a way, it doesn't really matter because as they say over here, until further notice, the days of the week are now called this day, that day, other day, someday, yesterday, today, and the next day.
Perfect. Well, we'll be back on the next day with another episode of the Toilet Paper Diaries.
It's been a great being here with you, and see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Easter, so we're going to have a special Easter part 2 of Beliefs. See you guys.
Happy Easter. Take care. Bye-bye.